truth, talking change, talking all that's real. With Francis Pierre at the wheel. Politics to faith, the latest trend. We talk it out from end to end. And if you've got some, it out from end to end.
Welcome, brothers. Welcome, sisters. Back to our program. On target. And remember, every time the clock struck 12, on target is at your door. And you have the medium, you have the via, you have the opportunity to pick up your telephone and give us a call. We never have a subject matter. We speak about anything: politics, religion, socioeconomic issues, or issues trending. You can introduce your own subject matter. We are 91.9, 91.5. We are in Brooklyn, New York, 94.9. That is We Noise FM. We encourage you to subscribe to Real FM, to like our program, to share our program. And while you are with a call, we're going to speak about NDC today. Yesterday, we spoke about NDC, and we wanted to know what they did in the 13 years that they were in power. Today, we're going to speak about NDC, and we're going to speak about some of the negatives of NDC. Corruption. Why are we repeating it now? For the past months, people have been accusing us of not paying attention to NDC. So yesterday, we call on people to say, what is NDC doing? What they did over the 3 periods that it was in power. What good? What beneficial? And today, we are trying to show the NNP defenders, the NDC defenders, the NDC apologists, the NDC mouthpiece, the NDC militants. Why is it we are uncomfortable with the policy, the utterances, and the expression of NDC? So yesterday we give you an opportunity to find out what you did over the last 13 years. And now we're telling you why we have problem with you. Yes, caller, welcome.
Good day, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, my
audience.
Yes, my brother.
I was missing for 2 days in action.
Yes, you missing in action yesterday. Definitely yesterday.
And you had a very good program yesterday where I think I should come in.
And today we're dealing with we're going to put some emphasis on the NDC corruption, the negatives of NDC. Why is it we are constantly taking issue with that political party, the policies and the utterances? So go ahead.
First of all, I've been advocating, and I call on Clifford sometimes because you have a knowledge of the same thing. Let me lower my.
Yes, every time you come in, I know it is.
Pierre, I said to Grenadians, this government is shaky. And when I say shaky, it's a government but to collapse any minute. They are whooping, you know, when you're whooping in cricket, they're not consistent. They have a lot of problems. This government cannot compare in no areas with the past administration. I could say that with no apology, because there has been scoring the first in many areas in this country. For being the most corrupted administration that ever passed since 1967. Second, there has been the most victimizing government whatever passed in this country. I could say that because I saw government come and government go. So these governments go a lot of us. There is no way this present administration could compare. And even they worse than the first NDC in 1990. They're worse than the one in 2008. So I don't know what Grenadians waiting on. By now, I think all Grenadians should start to make up their mind what should be the best result for these people. I never heard lies so with a government in my history of politics. Lies. They tell the most lies. Imagine the Prime Minister and the Minister of Housing in same cabinet, same government, and they are speaking different language. I heard the Prime Minister say he's making more funds available for Carriacou. And the Minister of Housing say all projects closed by the end of July because they come to a halted burial program at the end of July. So they are fooling people. He's saying one, she's saying one. People are abroad take note. It's two people not together. Something is wrong. I also heard the worst press conference in our administration. You have a gentleman who say he's a deputy political leader. When was asked about scandal in government, the gentleman saying, that is petty. My people didn't vote for me to answer. Leave that. And Jenny had to ask him, how could you then such a scandal and saying bribery and saying petty? What you calling petty? Then he referred to another point saying that she's not setting good example for the young politicians. That's the answer. He still not defend himself from the question. So I could tell Grenadians, we have no other choice but to vote for a lady who is capable, who is honest, and she could handle the Grenadian affairs. We cannot continue with these lies. Too many lies in this country. I rest my case with something.
Yes, my brother. And yes, I have to agree with you that this is the worst version of NNP in history. And there is no question of that. This government has told more lies than all other governments put together since 1967. There is no question about that. I don't think that is an issue they could question. So today again, we are on NDC. We are giving people justification and reason why we have been attacking the NDC so much. We care about NDC, you know. We don't want them to continue on that trajectory because it would be not good for all Grenadians. Where they're going there, they're going to cause the economy to go in free fall. So we want them to change the attitude, to change the mentality, to be more respectful, and to listen to what people saying and ask yourself, is it reasonable? When the government come up with this policy of information based upon need to know, very early, I said this policy is not in your interest. Rumors and speculation is going to run wild. You're going to get tied up trying to defend a pile of rumors. It is better that when people ask a question, if it is reasonable, you answer in a timely manner. Yes, caller, welcome.
Mr. Pierre, good afternoon.
Yes.
And you're speaking about NDC. And a while ago, you made a mistake and you said this is the worst version of MMP. It is a slip of the tongue. But what I want to say, Mr. Pierre, we know that they are listening. The vultures, the surrogates are listening. Don't be surprised that they just take that part of what you see and run on social media with it and say, look at what Mr. Pierre said. So I'm just telling you, it's a mistake you make. It is a slip of the tongue. You say NMP instead of saying NDC. But I'm looking out for it because I know all the vultures, the surrogates are listening and they will run with it on social media. Mr. Pierre, I'm listening.
Yeah, you see, sometimes when you're speaking, you're not speaking with a script. You're speaking off it. And if you combine both political parties, these things could happen. You could even pronounce words wrong that you're accustomed pronouncing. So the subject matter today is NDC. And I'm speaking about NDC. And yesterday, I put some emphasis on NDC. And I was promoting them yesterday, saying, what are the things that you did that is worthy of mention? And today, I'm trying to explain to the apologists, the NDC militants, the defenders of NDC, the prince of hate, the most fractious motivational speaker, the Iceman. Why is it at this stage so much time is spent on Deacon Mitchell and the NDC? And it's not about like. When a government come in power, you want them to do good. Because if they do good, the country improves and everybody is better. We are a close-knitted society. So you may have brothers and sisters that support NDC. You may have brothers and sisters that support other political parties. And you have to reach out and help them. If the economy is bad, more pressure is placed on successful stories in the economy. So it is better that more people have an opportunity. So when the NDC established the policy that information is based upon need to know, I pointed out to them that that policy is not in your interest. If you have that policy, rumors and speculation is going to run wild because you're not responding. And it is a policy of the NDC, and he has said that not in direct words, but how we speak. It's better to ignore it. Now, if somebody is accusing you from flaunting the law, in the Grenada Development Bank, these regulations was established in 1973. Eric Matthew Gary was under so much attack that they say you go take all the money in the bank. So he established the regulation that no cabinet minister, nor the close family, or the directors of the board cannot benefit from the Grenada Development Bank. It's not that these people were not poor, you know. It's not that they could not have benefit, you know. The Minister of Agriculture used to be grazing the cow in the evening when he come out to work. They were poor people, all of them. But to set a high standard, these individuals decide this thing, we would not benefit from it. Our children would not benefit from it. Our immediate family. Since 1973, all other governments that come after 1973 respect the regulation and generally obeys it. Now you have the National Democratic Congress came in and they raised the income by 300%. They used to get about $700 a month, and now about 25,000 is the income. So they raised the income by about 300%. The Prime Minister is more. They are traveling excessively. And one of the reasons they're traveling so is again to increase the income. Because every time they go away, they are given certain podiums. I don't know what it is. If it's 200 US a day, I don't know what it is. It used to be 120 US, I believe. Well, they wouldn't want that. But the government still picking up tabs for those who run bill in excess of 30,000. Now, when you ask these questions, they're not answering. So rumors and speculation is going to run wild. We heard that gifts was received by the Prime Minister of Grenada. Yes, caller, welcome.
Yes, good morning, Doc.
Yes, my
Good
brother.
Doc. How are you today?
Great, man.
I missed you for some time.
Okay.
Okay, I'll tell you something. I am struggling here to understand why our authorities do certain things. If they are provoking the citizens, if they have interest in the development of the economy, or if they're trying to slow down the economy. And that has to do with a discussion I heard with the physical planning unit on one of the programs. And what I'm getting out of that is that if you have to partition your land to your siblings, you have to go to the physical planning unit. If you're going to sell your land to anybody, you have to go to the physical planning unit. What is the objective of that? I'm trying to understand why. Are you trying to slow down land sale or slow down the dividing of your property or changing of your property to put it in good line as we age? Or is an attempt to slow down the economy to prevent land sale, to reserve land for what? Farmers needing land, we may have a scarcity of land for now, but in case somebody wants to get land and there is land available, that may be with commitment. Then, as I recommend a few weeks ago, then if someone wants to get land and they identify land that they think they will want to work, and the government have the interest in putting them to work as farmers and so forth through agriculture, then take them to the World Bank. Take them to the Caribbean Development Bank. Purchase the land from the seller, owner of the land, who have his title, and let the World Bank or the Caribbean Central Bank work out a payment arrangement with this person over a period of maybe 20, 25, 30, 40 years, based on what they want to do. So I cannot see all this hullabaloo in one having to go to the physical planning unit when they have to divide their property, if they have to sell a piece of property. That is a personal.
It could be political power. It could be a means to control your opponents. Because if they're politicizing these institutions, and I have to sell a piece of land now, or I have to partition a piece of land, or I have to buy a piece of land, hell might rule for me.
Well, I'm telling you, this is how
it is one of the measures. You see, they're following some of the communist doctrine. And we have to be very careful in Grenada, you know. Dickman has raised the eyebrow of some of the communists. And as a reason, one of the problems the revolution failed in Grenada, because we had too much landowners. People say I'm a proprietor. And Maurice Bishop had all different category of petty bourgeois. So this is an effort. They hope. The seat is introduced now. It may not be that powerful now. Depends on who come in power. If the NDC come back again, if it's a movement, you might see it getting much more forceful.
But Mr. Pierre, you're looking for trouble. Because you see, a conventional land title deed is not a simple thing.
Yeah, and it's freehold, particularly if your land is freehold.
So you're going into an area where you are going to get serious social problems.
Yes, but the hope.
Is that what we want? Is that what we want now?
But what they would start to do it with is the opponents.
Huh?
And they hope when they single it out individuals and do with it, over a period of time it will be more difficult and more difficult.
Well, some people start to react already.
But the people who will be in danger first is those who they consider as loudmouth people, and people who oppose the government, and people who are not with them.
You see, I am prepared to talk to anybody, any one of them, and I'm not talking these politicians, any politician who are in office or want to win. I am prepared to talk to them and show them what they're trying to do, the seriousness of what they're doing, and to help them. Because you see, I heard the lady talk about forward planning, and many of the things she spoke about is what I discussed many years ago. Yes, we have to do forward planning, and forward planning have to take so much different things so much component into consideration that you just can't take one single thing that is great problem and say, okay, well, we're going to go with this, and you forget the rest that is more important. We're looking for trouble. Landowners don't interfere with that, because that's the best security for commerce.
Yes,
and if you're going to tamper with this, you tamper with people's livelihood. That's a serious matter.
But you know, the communists and the socialists always interfere with land.
But we don't have problems.
But yes,
nobody going to take that line down. I know for me, I'm not going to take this.
But sometimes they start with those who are politically opposed to them.
I'm not getting involved in the politics.
Yeah, well, sometimes they just leave you alone.
Yeah.
So the first target group will be people who they believe is another measure to financially strangulate or to go after, to maul people who are opposing it.
I'm warning. I'm sending that warning here now, because we cannot take more trouble. This country is in a lot of trouble financially, economically, socially. We can't take more. Be very careful with what law you make that will affect people negatively, that create more unrest in the society. Please,
yeah.
Have a good day, sir.
Yes, you see, we have to examine what is going on. There is a trend. We mustn't bury our head in the sand. There is a trend. There are some people who supporting NDC that does not realize that NDC is not a party for them. I've always said NDC is about 2,000-3,000 people, you know. The core NDC is about 2,000-3,000 people. People are dragged along. Some people found out that in the revolution, that while they was the biggest funders of the revolution, they was supporting a political party that is against them. One farmer from the Holy Comforter, he put his hand on his head and he bawled like a cow, you know. That was the description of the locals. He said, all my life, I support people who against me. He only realized that the new Joel movement was against them. You see the trend they're going. They want more authority on people who have land, freehold. There is a purpose when you have your land and you have a title freehold. They want to use institutional force to creep in and victimize people, their opponents. Now, this government is not a good government. I said before, this government is like a disease, an infectious disease that gets worse every time you have a relapse. So they came in 1990 and they went after the poor of the poor. I told you they fire Lord Doll. I call his name because who would fire Lord Doll? He used to sit down. They said the best job for him, you know. He's so low on the gun already. He's filling up pots to pot bags. They fired him. They fired several hundred people who were working on the estates. And when they fired them, some people in the private sector used the opportunity to send people home without a cent. Remember they cut down Belvedere Nutmeg. What they cut it down for? Up to today, they can't tell you. Every time they come, they do worse. This time, they're going after people with the land, freehold. Look at what the NDC is doing. They retired. They made a party on the advice of the most fractious motivational speaker in Grenada and the Prince of Hate. They made a party for the members of the NDC. They retired them. They retired them. Their own elderly. They said choppy on them. This is a language that coming from the political party that in charge of us. We can't blame them, you know. We took the nation power and we put it in the hand of political neophytes. We did not know what is the agenda of the Prime Minister and his crew. Even some of the people in cabinet get tricked. The only thing that keeping them intact is encouragement money. Good relationship money. The Prime Minister of Grenada and those who are directing his cabinet is paying money for good relationship. I see no reason why I shouldn't consider that policy as bribery. Now, how could you run a government like that? Things are going to deteriorate. You're not answering question. You arrogantly say, and is that? And we're hearing about the amount of instances of corrupt acts. Well, Andy seems to be surrounded with acts of corruption. He appears to be one of the biggest beneficiaries of flaunting the laws and regulation of the Grenada Development Bank. Yes, caller, welcome. We lost that caller. He seems to be one of the biggest beneficiaries. There's so much acts. There's so much speculation. There's so much rumors of corruption with this individual. I believe it is reasonable and is justified to bring in a reputable jurist to investigate some of the corrupt acts we are hearing in Grenada. The government is not answering questions. The government propagandists, the government apologists, the government militants are not answering questions. Yes, scholar, welcome.
Afternoon, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, my brother. Good to
After
hear your
a long
voice.
time,
Long
I
time I
finally
hear your voice.
know I'm connected now. Because
Yeah.
I tried getting to you but over a week by now.
Okay.
And there was a mix-up somehow in the reception consideration. How you doing, sir?
Great man, good man.
I've not been getting the reception very good for the past few months. Although I at the same time I had a phone problem. By now I changed 3 phones in recent weeks. But the consideration that is consistent, but it's so evident in this country, is that this administration doesn't have a clue as to what on earth is going on. Direction, north, south, east, west, upside down, is a confusion. Watch me. I am critical. I've been critical in a whole lot. But there's no way. I hate, the dotishness that is showing up in this country become evident more and more and more and more. And whether you support a party or not, this government evidently has no clue as to which direction to go. And that's what the problem is. We have an arrogant prime minister. We have ministers going along with him who is afraid of him, and I don't understand why. Because, Mr. Pierre, I grew up, cannot be intimidated. I was part of the NGM party. And something Kennedy said to me one day, Kennedy Bodlau said to me one day, he said, they're not. Watch, when people see me, people like me and you, they don't know who they see now. Because he know I'm one of the kind of person too who cannot be intimidated. Kennedy is one of those who cannot be intimidated. Although people have a lot of criticism against Kennedy, he's still my boy. I know he flip-flop and he's confused to quite an extent. But hello, there's an aspect of people who grew up in that generation who has been a part of what went on before, who understand the politics of this country, the mentality of our people. And I think for sure Kennedy is one of those. I am one of those. And I could recognize easily. It is evident, obvious every day. I want to put the analysis together. I'm very critical, yes. Maybe I'm too much sometimes, too harsh. And, it's like you don't give people a chance. No, I give people a chance. But the obvious evidence is that these guys have no clue. And some of them are good friends. That's the problem with the whole thing here. I spoke to one of the ministers. Oh, we're on Facebook. Sorry, not Facebook, WhatsApp. And I hear him say something to me one day relative to the representation that he has a principle for, representation that he has responsibility for. And when I heard what he said, he don't even care. Mr. Pierre, the man said, plain and simple. You hear me?
Yeah, listen. Yeah.
And when you hear somebody, and a person who is supposed to be in a responsible position like him, say, I don't care. Well, hello, we're in trouble. Although, I've been told by a good friend of mine who knew him too very well, that he has a serious problem with the Prime Minister. And if you notice, for a longest while, when the Prime Minister is leaving the country, or whenever he leaves, he put Andy Williams as the supporting acting Prime Minister, which is a dumb statement in this country. Acting Prime Minister makes no sense in this country because there's no deputy Prime Minister based on the constitutional makeup of our country. But here comes the issue where you have personal. Let's say the prime minister was to fall down on a plane because he fly all the time, and he was to be considered as prime minister in his country. Hello, and he's qualified in any way to be prime minister, and me and I move well. You don't hatred and don't like people and kind of thing. I don't have time for that. And you don't make no damn sense. Pure and simple. I have no apology to make to anybody. And you don't even know what's going around. And you have no intelligence and sense when it comes to being able to handle issues and situations. He's a people guy. People like him. And he like people. That's fine. But that is not what governing a country is about. And Dickon himself has no clue as to how ideas work for a governorship situation. Because Grenada is not governed by...
So bad and so worse.
Well, that's the same kind of thing. The governor, the case situation in Grenada, the prime minister, the present prime minister, has no clue as to how to initiate and get things done. Economically, all he's doing is looking for things for his own self. And you know, all the criticism they had of Kit Mitchell, watch me, I'm a lover of Kit Mitchell, period. And I'm not blind to anything. But when Kit Mitchell was in power in this country, he gets things done. People are relating to things properly. Grenadians end up with that kind of dotish and foul situation. No, man.
Yeah.
Watch me, I could stay for the whole
Yes,
day.
scholar, yeah.
I could stay for the whole day,
Yeah.
but you know.
Yes.
It's enough. I
Yes.
think Grenadians need to wake up. And actually, a lot of people waking up.
Well, I think, in all fairness, I think a lot of people waking up.
Yeah, man. A lot of people waking up.
The silence.
They're noticing it.
Yeah.
They're feeling it. They're feeling it economically.
Yeah.
Especially.
Yes,
and the
correct.
lack of initiative, which you know, the present prime minister, all he's doing is personal, making millions of dollars for his own self, along with other ministers in that kind of dirty situation. Grenada can't afford to continue that way.
Yes, scholar, thank you.
Take care.
And I don't think the ministers afraid Dickon. They don't afraid Dickon. I think what Dickon has initiated is encouragement money. They're concerned about the amount of money they're making now. And some of them cannot afford to lose it. They are not pressured to lose it. You see, we're dealing in an era when the secular world has placed a lot of pressure and dilute Christianity. So morality and character and common decency has been seriously depleted in the NDC. The NDC seems to lack compassion and empathy. So when Ron said he had a gracious offer, there was no principle in it. It was straight case of money. Based upon the information we get on the ground, that gracious offer was $100,000. And that perhaps for him was enough to take a little public diluting. His image was diluted in the public, but Ron Muzzy said, for that amount of money, I could handle that. When it was rumored that $160,000 was paid to jump fence, we have never heard that in Grenada before. One guy was smiling, he told the minister that can work. That is impossible. The minimum time is 8 weeks. The minister wanted it in 3. But when he meet a sweet spot, he said, I will give him 3.5 weeks. Remember, Mr. Forrester had some difficulties with the previous government. Not much difficulties. It seems that the difficulties was personal. And Mr. Forrester was able to get as an ambassador to the diaspora, a job he quite capable. of having and managing. But morality and decency and character and image went out of the door. Because Mr. Preuss cannot do justice to that job if he continued to appear and look and seems to appear as a political militant of the NDC. And Mr. Forrest in politics long, so he knows that. But the status, the job, and the perks that come with it was enough for him to bury his head in the sand. There are stories outside there that make you wonder, where are we going? We have heard that a minister got a contract for his landlord, or his landlord got a contract for 90,000. The landlord subcontract the contract for 50,000. And the person who did the contract finished the contract in less than 1 week. You notice I'm not saying 4 days. I said in less than 1 week. A shame. We are hearing when the NDC was seeking volunteers to go to Karakou, we were on radio encouraging people to go. But while they were seeking volunteers to go in Karakou, and they got volunteers, they was paying some of the volunteers that appear and seem to be yellow, and they was not paying others. Some of those individuals, NDC members themselves, was offended because they encouraged people to go. The people was not of their political inking. And they were surprised when they got money. And the people didn't get. And they felt, if I tell them I get money, it will look like a betrayal. Deacon Mitchell is a vulture. What is a vulture? A vulture prey on the weak. Carrion. The fowls have to hide the chicks. The vulture is like a gigi. It is in their nature to be a vulture. But it was not necessary for the NDC, for this third time, to go after the elderly, the physically challenged, and disadvantaged people in the seed program. The government left $500 million plus in the treasury. Enough money to build a new hospital that they claim they have to build. You don't have to get more to retrofit it. That is not the right word. To put the different x-rays and furniture and etc. in it. So there was no need. There was no need for the women of Karakou. You hear the calling man. It doesn't bother with man. The women of Karakou and Grenada. Why are they called women and not men? 60% of the household are led by single women. We must never forget that. And most of these women are women in the lower socioeconomic strata. So when a government is firing a supernumerary, a temporary permanent worker in the lower echelon of the society, without justification, without reason, without economic rationale, that government lack empathy. Now you have to understand, there are a lot of people in Grenada that benefits immensely from our NDC government. But the people in the country that care and want to benefit the most from government in power is the people in the lower socioeconomic strata. A medical doctor don't have to make no fuss about government because of their speciality. Medical doctors is always in short supply. They're always in demand. So a Grenadian medical doctor who don't get work in Grenada could go to the United States or Barbados or any country. It is easier to get a visa to go in America if you're a medical doctor. A businessman, the only reason they want from the government is the taxation policies must not be overburdening. And maybe they want freedom of the press, freedom to jump the plane and go where they want. Because they are businessmen. And they may have more discretionary income than the people in the lower income group. So government is not so important to them. They will negotiate with the government to make certain that the enabling environment is there for them to make money. But the people who need government the most are the people in the lower income group. And when a government go after these people without economic justification, without reason, when the government consider these people as classless and commoners and dunce and stupid and beggy, then something is wrong. Something is wrong with the leadership. When you have a leadership and one of the first acts was to dabble with the occult. Yes, scholar, welcome. Yes, scholar. One of the first acts was to dabble in the occult. We are a Christian society. It doesn't mean we are going to heaven or hell. But we are a Christian society. Yes, we are kind of saltless Christians. But we are Christians. Now, since the year was one, people shun evoking the dead. That is a no-no. We have heard about it in society, but people object to that. They say you're playing with the devil. You're dabbling with the occult. When we have a political leader that dabbles in the occult, you have to be worried. You have to be concerned. This is not an acting. This is not White, the gentleman in the insurance company that with the theater, that acting in a show, you know. Your prime minister of the country dabbles in the occult. One of the nurses in the hospital, a minister was visiting 2 o'clock in the morning. When we say after 12, you see, I want to be conservative in there. Let me say after 12. And when she confronted him, she must have seen him wondering. He said he was paying a visit and he said who he was. She shocked. She said, no, it's 12 o'clock after 12. The senior nurse that she spoke to, her senior, said you should have sent him in the pathological annex. Maybe looking for bishop spirit. As a people, we have to be careful that we do. When we have a political leader that telling lies as if it's a joke, and when you catch him lying and you show him he lying again, how could you trust? How could you have confidence? How could you be guided by an individual like that? I asked the NDC propagandists, the NDC apologists, the NDC political militants, the people who wants to defend NDC. How do you explain the traveling of the Prime Minister? How do you explain that? The Prime Minister spends 8 million in 2 years, in under 3 years. You see how I give him a blight? I don't say 2 years, I say under 3 years. Mia Mockley spent 1.7 in 7 years. The NDC like to tell Dr. Kit Mitchell, you're in power for 23 years. But if he spent 8 million in under 2 years, well, in 10 years, in 20 years, he might spend about 80 million. All things being equal. And after 3 years, there is no change. I ask, who is the third party that directing the Prime Minister? Is the Prime Minister of Grenada a rara? Is he controlled and manipulated? The writing is in the wall. No other political leader in Grenada come any close to this unpredictable behavior of the Prime Minister of Grenada. I have not heard any political leader in the Caribbean with this such a trait. Remember, this is an individual that entered the political arena. And it was said that he had deep pockets and contacts. That was his two important political traits, deep pockets and contacts. In the rum shop on the ground, they interpret his contacts to be the lawyers supporting him. It may not have been so. For the lawyers, it may not have been so. But Kennedy Boodlall will always tell you, in politics, perception is reality. And particularly when the government policy is and is that, they don't answer you. It means the Bar Association should call Deacon and nudge him and say, based upon what is happening on the ground in Grenada, people believe that the Bar Association is behind you. So our reputation is at stake. Yes, scholar, welcome. Yes, scholar, punch. So our reputation is at stake. You can't do that. The Attorney General, a woman, a lawyer with some measure of experience. I don't know, she must have been a lawyer for 10 years or more, I don't know. With some measure of experience, behaving as if she's a dancehall artist in Spanish Town, Jamaica. Jumping up firing imaginary shot against Babylon. This behavior is so not traditional. This behavior is so unorthodox. This behavior is so outrageous. It is so unpolitical. It is so unladylike. Yes, scholar, welcome. Scholar must be having some challenge with his phone. It could be the scholar having a little challenge with the phone. Maybe you need to try back. Yes, scholar, you there?
Yes, I'm right here.
Yes, my brother.
Mr. Pierre,
Yes, my brother.
what you can do?
I'm just trying to tell you why you're taking issue with Deacon. Because you want me to tell you 3 reasons why?
Tell me.
One, he dabbled in the occult.
How you know that?
Well,
Mr. Pierre,
well, I thought you telling me, let me tell you 3.
Stop lying.
Let me give you 3
Stop lying
reasons.
on man. You can't be lying. It's the biggest liar.
Right, go ahead.
It's lying on your station.
All right.
Mr. Pierre, about 50, more than 60% of what you say on the radio is lying.
Tell me 2 things that I'm saying that is
You
not.
lie on people. You lie on the Prime Minister.
What did I say that is
You
not?
say nothing. You say Bishop nothing happening in the country. And that's the biggest lie.
Tell me what did I
Prime
say?
Minister say nothing much happening in Grenada after Bishop. That's what he say.
Nothing much.
Nothing much.
So
We don't have a good hospital. We have we have to take over $1 billion and pay on our West.
Caller, you accuse me of telling lies on the Prime Minister. So tell me, what is it that I say about the Prime Minister of Grenada? That is not a lie.
You say Dublin court. How the hell you know that?
Because let me tell you why.
How you know that?
He dabbled in the occult.
You know Dublin court too. That's why you know. But that don't know. The
occult is the devil. He go on this stage. Caller, hold on. You didn't tongue long. Well, you call. A whole time I'm waiting for you to call me, and the program come to an end. But we'll have to continue that discussion, because I believe I really want the apologists of Deacon Mitchell to help Deacon. I think the ministers is not afraid of Deacon, but they preoccupy with the encouragement money. They're getting money for good relationship. And with $25,000 a month, in addition to that, he promised to buy a vehicle for them to campaign. And they have a number of money. One of them, we understand, in less than 2 years, had over $600,000 in the bank account. I think this is bribery, and I believe we should get a jurist, a reputable jurist, to investigate corruption in Grenada. Thank you very much.
Turn it up, Real FM, ride the frequency. Talking truth, talking change, talking all that's real. With Francis Pierre at the wheel. Politics to faith, the latest trend. We talk it out.